So the first best practice which you'll review regarding the patient intake process is the process where the patient actually creates their own portal user account and they enter in their patient and insurance information. So the way this kind of flows is the patient will call the practice regarding the particular service. The admin will take the call and perform some basic screening questions to vet the patient. Do we take their insurance, for example? Do we provide the appropriate service? Is the next available appointment something that the patient is okay with? And then the admin will direct the patient to go to the practice website and go to a button or a tab on the practice website that says Patient Portal. The patient will then click on that button or tab, which will bring up the Psykdesk Patient Portal page where they'll select New Account. The patient will go through the process of creating their account, entering in their information, and then once completed, they'll call back and let them know that they've completed all of their portal tasks. At that time, the admin will post the portal changes, creating the patient chart inside of Psykdesk. Then they can schedule the patient and attach any additional intake forms for them to fill out. So let's go ahead and demo what that practice actually looks like. So if I'm the patient, I'll go to the practice's website. And on the website, you can set up a link to the Psykdesk patient portal in many different ways, but on this particular site, it's a tab here. So the patient will click on Patient Portal, and that will launch a unique link for the account, which will activate the Psykdesk patient portal. The patient will then select Create New Account or Create Account, and they'll put in their email address and a password. So I'm going to do that with my password or my email address, put in my password and click Sign Up. So now what happens is the patient will get an email with a verification code, and they must enter that into the system. So I'm going to go to my email account. Here is my verification code that I received. I'm going to paste that in, select Verify. You've successfully set up your account. And then they need to log back in with the email and password which they had set up. So the next thing they'll do is they'll click on the tasks that they have and follow through the various tasks by clicking Start. Enter their first name. This will create their account information. Then they'll go to the next step, which is patient information. Hit Start. Are you the patient? In this case, I'm going to say yes. Enter personal information, so date of birth. I'll put a date of birth in there. Legal gender, male. Next. Now they can take a picture of themselves, which will show up in the patient's chart. So take a picture. It will capture me. There I am. Next. Address. Next. Patient phone. Next. Email. I can add an additional email. Next. So this is the reminders, notifications for the patient. So these I can indicate if I want to receive an email and a text message to remind me of an upcoming appointment. The check-in pin is for the kiosk that you can place inside of your practice. So you can have a kiosk where patients can check in at the front desk if they want to using their pin number. They'll set up the pin here. So that's my patient information. I can add additional contact information here. I can add an additional address if I wanted to, contact phone. Emails if I want to, and so I just added additional patient contact. Do I want to have the contact receive reminders as well? Sure. The next step is insurance information. Now this is the list of insurances that I've configured in my system. They'll appear here. Do I have one of these insurances? Yes. So I look at my insurance card. I currently have Florida. We'll just say Blue Cross Blue Shield. Subscriber number. Okay, that looks good. And I can take a picture of the front and back of my card. So let's take a picture of the front. And let's take a picture of the back. Next. Is the patient the insurance subscriber? Yes. Do you have secondary insurance? No. But of course we can add that information if they do have that. Now my insurance is done. Identification information. So I need to put a driver's license in here. We'll put a number in. And then we'll take a picture of my driver's license. Next. And I've completed all my patient tasks. So now as the admin, I want to go and take a look at that new patient request that came in through the portal. So the way I do that is I navigate to portal user patients. And I take a look at the view that says ready to post new patients. So these are patients, these are requests from the portal to become a patient. They're not patients yet in the system. So I see that I have this new request out here, which is the one we just created. So I can look at it. So I can see that here's the information that is about to be posted and created in the patient's charts. There's driver's license information, insurance information, contact information, patient information. I can also see the various tasks that they've completed, when they've completed, who was completed by. So I am going to go ahead and post those portal changes. This is going to create the patient and update the patient's chart. So now I have the patient in my system. I can go to the patient's chart. Let's take a look at it. So here's the image or the picture that was taken on the portal. I go to billing setup. Here is the insurance information. I can view the pictures of the cards that were taken online. I can go to the About tab. Here is all the information that was set up in the patient portal, including driver's license information. And so the patient is now set up in the system. So now after discussing with the patient, I'm going to go ahead and schedule the encounter for that patient. Let's go to schedule encounter. And we'll go ahead and schedule it with David, who is going to be the provider. I'm going to schedule it for next week. We'll do it on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. I'm going to select the service. We'll do a clinical intake, hit save. So now I've scheduled the encounter. I'm also going to go back to the patient, and I have some intake forms which I want them to fill out. So I'm going to go to the portal tab. I'm going to select the portal user who I want to fill out the intake forms. And under patient form tasks, I'm going to add a form tasks. Now I can add individual forms to the patient's chart from the fill out, but to make things easier, I've created this group called new patient group, and I've added several forms to that group to make things easy for me. So instead of having to add each form individually, I can just select the group and hit save. And so now there's all these additional intake form tasks for the patient to fill out on the portal. I also have the option to send a message to the patient if they're currently not on the phone. For example, I might go to messages here, add a new message group. I want it to be between the patient portal user and myself. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to add a new message, hit send. And so the patient will then get an email with this message and they can read it. So now let's hop over onto the patient side. So as the patient, I just received this message, and then this email is completely customizable. You can add or update the the text in it to be whatever you want. So I have a new message alert. I can click here to view it. This will bring me to the login page. I can sign into the portal now. So since I've posted the information inside of Psykdesk and created the patient, the portal now displays more tasks and more options and more features for the patient to be able to perform. So not only can they enter task information, but they can also make payments, they can share documents, they can check it online, they can view their appointments, they can also read messages. So here's what I would receive the message that I just sent out. I've added some new forms to fill out. Please complete before your next visit. Sounds good. Let's go to the tasks. And I can say I have some new tasks to complete. These are the 4 forms that I have added to the patient's chart. So I have a credit card form to fill out, or credit card number. Okay, I filled out that form. I have a COVID screener, which I also want them to fill out. And again, you can create any forms that you want. You can post any forms that you want for the patients to fill out. You have complete flexibility into designing and posting your forms. Telehealth consent. Okay. And finally, the last form. So, married. I'm just going to sign all these things to get through it. Okay. So now as the patient, I've completed all my intake forms and I am ready for my appointment. Then just to finish off this flow, let's go back onto the patient's chart. And if I take a look under documents, I can see all the forms that the patient has filled out and completed. So there's their telehealth form, the consent for therapy form, credit card form, all nicely attached to the patient's chart under documents. The second best practice around patient intake is to have the admin actually perform the data entry and create the patient portal account. So in this case, the flow kind of goes like this. The patient will call the practice regarding the service. The admin will perform basic screening questions. Do we take their insurance? Do we provide the appropriate service? The next available appointment is if that's okay with the patient. The admin will then enter the patient information into the system, including the insurance information. The admin will then schedule the encounter at that point in time. The admin will also create the patient portal account at that time and post all the intake forms required to be completed to the patient at that time as well. Once that's completed, the patient will then receive the email and set up their account for the patient portal. Then they'll fill out all their tasks in the portal. If possible, it's also a good idea for the admin, while they're on the phone with the patient, to make sure the patient was able to successfully set up their portal account. The reason why this is important is that the link to set up the account will expire in 7 days. And if the patient doesn't do it immediately, it may take some additional interaction to get them set up on their patient portal successfully. So let's take a look at the patient intake process with the admin doing the data entry. So first I'd like to create the patient. So I go to the patient section and select add patient. And I can enter the patient information. In this case, we'll select Jill Jones as my patient, date of birth, address, phone number, I'll indicate if they want to send reminders or text messages to that phone number and hit save. So now I've added Jill as a patient inside of Psykdesk. The next thing I'll want to do is enter her insurance information. So whatever insurance she has, Aetna, subscriber information, hit save, and then I'll go ahead and schedule an encounter for that patient. And we'll schedule it with David Oka. We'll do it for next Tuesday again. And we'll do an intake for next Tuesday. Okay, so now I have the patient in the system. Her insurance information is updated and I've scheduled her. The next thing I want to do for Jill is to create her portal account. So I click on the portal tab, add portal user for the patient. In this case, the patient is going to be the portal user, but in the case, for example, you have a child, you may want the mom or dad to be the portal user. So the first name will be Jill Jones, and I'm going to use my email address. Okay, so let's create the portal user. Create new portal user. All right, after I've created the portal user, I'd like to add some intake forms for them to fill out on their account. So I select the portal user patient account. I'm going to add some form tasks here. So I'm going to use a group to add multiple form tasks at once. I'm going to use the new patient form group. That'll add all of the tasks, form tasks in that group. There we go. So as the admin, my job is done. The patient is now in the system. She's scheduled with an encounter for the provider, and she has a bunch of intake forms to fill out on the patient portal. So let's hop over onto the patient side. When I created the patient portal user account, I received an email. Click here to set up your password. You can customize this email to be whatever you want, so you can personalize it to be a welcome message from your practice. Click here to set up your password. So I'm going to set up a new password for my patient portal as the patient. And now I'm logged into the patient portal and I have my account set up. So the next thing the patient will do is review their tasks. And they'll go through each task, hitting start. Account information, that looks good, that's me. Next is patient information. Are you the patient? Yes. And a lot of the information that the admin has already filled out will pre-populate these pages. So I can see the information that was filled out, that is correct. I can take a picture at this time. So we'll take a picture of me. So now I'm the patient. Patient address looks good. Number, okay, that's actually wrong. As the patient, I'm going to correct that information. Patient emails, I could add any additional emails if I want. I actually want reminder notifications. My patient check-in PIN I can put in now so I can check in at the kiosk at the front desk if that's something that I wish to do. Address information, contact information. I can add contact information. I'm not going to at this time. Insurance information. This is the insurance information that was put in. That looks good. Oh, they want me to take a picture of it. Now that's on the system. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So there's my first capture. And then take a picture of the back of my card. Okay, looks good. Is this patient the insurance subscriber? Yes. Do we have secondary insurance? No. So the patient will basically go through and review all the information that the admin has put in to create the patient. Identifying information, start. Let's take a picture. Card information. Okay. Oh, I forgot to put the number in. That task is now complete, and I can fill out my forms. Looks good. Telehealth consent. Looks good. And I'll fill out the rest of these forms here. So now I've successfully completed all my forms, and as the patient, my work is done, and I'm ready for my encounter.